Hello everybody, this is Kickball Jedi playing 7 Days to Die Undead Legacy, and we're starting a new series. 2.6, Undead Legacy 2.6 has been released. Subquake has completed, it's on its stable version now. So we're going to go ahead and check out all of the changes that have been made to the Undead Legacy mod. Just go over some of the things. Scrapping some materials is different. There's been the disassembly station has been replaced with a recycle station. I'm going to see what that's about. The recycle station needs power. There are added scorpions in the world, giant scorpions. Looks like they're only in the desert, snow, and wasteland biomes. They're not in the forest biomes, so at least you're safe to start there. They can poison you, but they do give some good. They do drop some good loot. Or when you skin them, you get chitin material, which is really helpful. Alright, so let's look at the settings real quick. We're starting off pretty much with the basics of how I usually start. We are going to start at Nomad level, which is one step above the default, which is Adventurer. As the game goes on, I'll bump it up. Usually what I do is after every 2 Horde Nights, I'll bump it up. So Nomad until 14, Warrior until 28, etc., etc. We got the zombie day speed starting at jog instead of walk, sprint for night and feral, and then nightmare on Horde Night, Blood Moon Night. 1 hour days, Blood Moon every 7 days. I bumped up the Blood Moon count to 12. I'm hoping that the designs of the Horde bases that I have are sufficient to handle 12 zombies as opposed to the default 8. What else we got? Oh yeah, for streaming purposes, to make it a little bit more interesting, I bumped up the XP multiplier to 150 and the loot to 150. Not too crazy. I've seen some streamers bump it up a lot higher. I figured this is enough to make it so at least every container isn't empty, and every now and then I may find something a little above average. I did do the loot respawn at 30 days, considering I haven't really survived 30 days yet. That really shouldn't make a difference. I do have the airdrops every 3 days, and the airdrops are on, but airdrops I can take it or leave it. Usually I only go after them if I happen to be going that way anyway. I don't really go out of my way for airdrops, so they're there. And then finally, in Undead Legacy, there are wandering hordes. We got wandering hordes every 16 hours, give or take 8 hours, and then it can be composed of 10 zombies and then plus or minus 10 zombies, I guess. Okay, so actually it's only plus. I thought, I was wondering about that, because the range isn't necessarily plus or minus 10, it's plus 10, or up to plus 10. So we'll see how that goes. That's a lot. The default is 5, so we'll see. You know, especially early game, those can be really messy. And nothing on multiplayer, really. That's more, more for multiplayer. Alright, so we got all of our settings set up. I'm going to play the game a little differently this time, more of a like a journal type thing. As a matter of fact, the name of the series is 7 Days to Diary, and what I'll do is kind of review each day as opposed to track every minute of every day, so you can just kind of see what occurred during that day. I think that'll be a much more streamlined presentation. So we'll see how this goes. Anyway, see you in the game. Thank you so much for watching. I woke up in the middle of the street, in the middle of nowhere, with nothing on. Off in the distance, I could see some buildings, maybe some civilization. I did have a bag on me. I put the bag down and checked inside. There were some basic survival items, some clothing, some weapons, a little bit of food and water, not much. But I took the flimsy knife and the very low caliber gun and headed off to start gathering the materials I would need to make some more survival items. There were some notes scribbled in some old paper telling me how to craft some simple tools. I followed the instructions, starting by gathering wood, stone, and grass. I stumbled across some birds' nests. In them were some eggs, twigs, and feathers, useful items, I figured. I got all the items I needed to build myself a simple stone axe. While I was out grabbing materials to build the tools I would need, I found some garbage bags with some items in them. I grabbed them thinking maybe they would be useful or I could sell them. I continued to gather materials to build more weapons and tools. Chopping down trees and using the stone pickaxe to pick away at some of the large boulders lying around. The large boulders gave me large stones and small stones. I could take the large stones and scrap them down into small stones if I wanted to, or I could leave them as large stones. They would be useful either way. Meanwhile, I learned a trick where you can chop a tree down till it's almost tumbling and then use your knife to get extra resin out of the tree. Then I needed some scrap iron, so I used my stone pick to hack away at any items made of metal I could find, like an old car or a shopping cart. And then finally I found the roof of an outhouse and picked away at that until I had enough scrap iron to build my carpenter's bench. I built the carpenter's table, and while putting that together, I also found nearby there was a stack of bricks. So I gathered them up, figuring they'd be useful at some point. Once the carpenter's table was done, I took it and set it down and had access to build some additional items now. Next up was making a bow and arrow set, which would be very useful for long range attacks. But it looked like to build the bow I needed some cloth. I wasn't sure where I could find some cloth laying around out in the world. So I crafted myself a stone spear, which is a step up from the wooden spear that I initially started with. And then I decided to check the bird's nest. Sometimes birds, when they build their nests, gather cloth in making them. And sure enough, some of the nests I found did have cloth in it. So I gathered that up to use to craft my bow. Since I was gathering extra sticks and feathers for making arrows anyway, I figured why not go ahead and get the cloth from there too. So after destroying a few birds' nests, I had enough to make the bow. And I was a little bit short on stones for making arrows, so I took a few of the large stones I had and scrapped them into small stones. You get 5 small stones for every large stone. Now once I finished the bow and arrow, the notes that were given to me indicated that there was a trader nearby. I was very happy to find out there was another survivor. But I was still pretty weak, so I wanted to grab some more items. So I thought I would first go through this cabin here that I found nearby to see what was in it and see if it would give me some more survival items. I went to make a primitive repair kit, which is an item you can use to repair the stone tools and weapons, but I was short of bones for that. I had not collected any bones yet, so I figured while I was inside this cabin I would look for those materials. First room, I saw my first zombie. Shot him in the head with the arrow. It seemed to work pretty well. Looted some garbage while I was in here. Scrap copper, not anything I could use right now, but possibly I could sell it. I saw a big female zombie hanging from a ladder. I shot at her where I could hit her, but she couldn't reach me. I think I'd sunk 4 arrows into her at this point. She was still going strong. Climbed all the way up to the top of those barrels and then did about a 4-foot high leap, which was very impressive for a zombie woman of her size. And a little scary. Got a few of my arrows back, and was looting through the garbage. Didn't find too much useful in this area. But, you know, every little thing helps. I did find an upgrade to my stone pick. So the one I found in that broken workbench was better than what I had. So I immediately upgraded. Used the new pick to gather some more bricks. There were a couple stacks of bricks. I knew those would be useful at some point. I didn't know yet, but I figured there were some sort of workbenches of some sort that might need them. Or if anything, I could build a wall out of brick. This was a very small cabin, but there were another 3 zombies in this large room. That was along with the 2 I'd already killed, so 5 zombies so far. Zombie laying here. I did not have a shot at its head, so I shot him where I could, which unfortunately was right in the taint. Anyway, backed out, used the door kind of as a shield. After he swung, step in and stab, get him bleeding. And then bring out the spear to finish him off. Sometimes zombies hide in cabinets, so I check that cabinet just in case. Another headshot always makes things easier. And then with this area cleared, I went ahead and looted all of the cabinets. Again, not much to be found. I would love to find a cooking pot or, I don't know, some good food. I did start to gather cloth though, which was nice. I got cloth from the curtains. Got a backpack. Looted the backpack, which did have some vitamins in it, but then I also grabbed the backpack itself for storage, which is good. Handy. Okay, thought this was probably cleared out, so headed down to the basement. You can see a zombie sleeping in the corner. I think that was a headshot, but not quite enough to kill him, so he came running over. And he proceeded to start shoving me up the ladder. Luckily, it wasn't causing any damage, but I could imagine once he shoved me to the top, he would start hitting me. Luckily, killed him before he could shove me completely out of the top. Alright, I had a bit more luck with loot down here. Well, not yet, but excellent find there. Got some iron arrows, steel arrow tips, and a mod for my pick. Gave me a bonus to iron. I found a better gun than what I start with, the scrap gun, and a better bow. Found a hunting bow. Step up from my primitive bow. And then the scrap pistol uses 10mm bullets instead of the 9mm in that starting small gun. I did not have any 10mm bullets yet though, so I would still have to keep that other gun handy if I ever had to resort to the gun. So yeah, a couple good finds right there, which is always nice. Early game, especially early game. So yeah, the reason why the scrap pistol does more damage than the one you start with is because it uses the 10mm bullets. Alright, so that was the end of clearing out that cabin. I figured it was getting late in the day. It was already 3 o'clock, so I would grab my workbench and make my way to the trader. See another survivor. A couple zombies on the way, but they didn't cause me too much trouble. Got to the trader. It was a trader named Hugh. Decided to put my workbench down because it was really loading me down. Take out another zombie hanging out in front of the trader. There's already another one coming, but I just decided to duck inside and leave him alone. I probably should have taken care of him.
What do you offer?
Alright, so once inside, I was introduced to Raiden. Very cool looking customer. Looks like some sort of mercenary. Proceeded to loot the items in Raiden's counter. Drank the water I had and refilled it with the water jug he had behind him. Now in this trader there were some giant mechanized robots. Oh wait, I did find the schematic for a furnace, which was fantastic. Now you do build the furnace in the artisan's bench, so you need a specific bench to make the furnace. Did find a battery. Batteries are now used to charge the lanterns you can find throughout the world. Hugh does have a few ammunitions boxes, and in the first one I did find some 10mm for my new gun. Actually a pretty good amount, 30 of them. Got a nice warm jacket. Another ammunitions box. Now he also has a well. I climbed down the rope. Some tragedy happened there, not really sure what that was. Come around here, another ammunitions box, which is great. And some more ammo. And then I peeked around the corner to find a hallway filled with landmines. I'm sure there's other loot back in there. I tried to set off the landmines with my bow and arrow. That didn't work. I just left that alone. And then climbing up the rope again was a little tricky. But after a couple tries, I got it. Climbed out of the well.
What do you need?
Worked my way out of there. And then headed inside. Said my greetings to Hugh. And then, while looting, I did see a deer outside. So I ran out to get him. Now, I'm already hearing the zombies piling up outside. They know I'm in here, so they're gathering, making noise, hitting on the trader walls. Went to the kitchen, hoping to find some good loot in there, but not only was there not a lot of loot, or not a lot of good loot, there wasn't a lot of loot overall. Most of the cabinets were hanging wide open and empty. So I did loot a little bit from his register. Sold some of the junk that I'd gathered up. Not much. Flashlights, some fishing lures, a couple of lead and chrome trophies. But, you know, enough to get me off to a pretty good start for loot.
Are we done here?
Took a quick glance just to see if he had anything interesting. I really couldn't afford much yet. But then I checked to see what jobs he had, and I noticed he had a cabin to the east, which is where I just came from. So I took a look at that, and it was the cabin I was just at. And even though I'd already looted it, I figured this might be a good opportunity for me to have a place to camp out overnight. It was already 7:30, and as opposed to finding a whole new POI and clearing it out and staying there, I could go back to this one, which I already knew was cleared out, and stay there overnight. In the morning, I could go on the mission that the trader needed me to do, which was get some hidden supplies somewhere at the building. Went and skinned the deer that I killed. I was on the lookout because I know there were a lot of zombies that were looking for me when I was in the trader, so they could jump out at any time. This guy was already injured, looks like. Yeah, you can see him back around the trader's walls. I really just needed to get out of there. It was getting late. Didn't have time to sit and fight these zombies with my stone weapons. Did come across another one between me and the POI in the cabin. So hit him, hit his buddy. Didn't get surprised on the buddy, so he was still pretty strong. Focused on him for a second. Both of them, and then headed back to the cabin. Now, once back at the cabin, I knew I was going to be staying here for the night, probably up in the loft area, up high, and I knew there were only a couple ways for the zombies to get up there. One of them was this stone wall, so I used my pick to knock that out. So they couldn't hop up that way. And then I knew I'd climbed up a ladder. And zombies aren't good at jumping up onto ladders, I learned, but since this ladder goes all the way to the ground, I knew they could climb up on that, and they would swarm all over me at night if they heard me up there. So went ahead and took a couple of the rungs out on the ladder. Make it difficult for the zombies to get up. And while I was there, I went ahead and got the rest of the brick. Like I said, I know That's going to be important. That's going to be needed for something. If anything, for making brick blocks, but could be used to make, say, like maybe for the furnace, that would be something you'd make out of brick because it would have to take the heat. Alright, it looked like those were the only two ways up, so went ahead and went back inside. Look for a place to camp out. I found a nice quiet place in the corner, and then I sat down and decided to choose my skills that I'd earned. I'd had 4 points from experience to learn some new skills. I went into strength and learned some sex T-Rex to have better stamina, and then went into fortitude and healing so that I would heal better. And then I hid in the corner hoping and praying that I would make it to the next morning.